ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। हरे कृष्णा। टुडे वी कंटिन्यूइंग श्रीमद् भागवतम कैंटो सेकंड चैप्टर थर्ड pure devotional service, shloka number 12 and 13. Jnanam yat a pratinivrutta guna urmi chakram
ज्ञानं यत् अप्रतिनिवृत्तगुणर्मिचक्रम्
atma-prasāda ut yatra guneshu asangah
आत्मप्रसाद उत यत्र गुणेषु असङ्गः
kaivalya sammata pathatu अथ भक्ति योगः
कैवल्यसम्मत पथ तु अथ भक्ति योगः
कह निवृत्त हरि कथा सुरतिम न कुर्यात्।
कः निवृत्तः हरिकथासु रतिं न कुर्यात्।
शौनक उवाच
शौनक उवाच
इति अभिव्याहृतं राजा निशम्य भरतऋषभः
इति अभिव्याहृतं राजा निशम्य भरतऋषभ
किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः
किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः
वैयासकिं ऋषिं कविं
वैयासकीं ऋषिं कविम्
ज्ञानं यत् अप्रतिनिवृत्तगुम ऊर्मिचक्रम्
ज्ञानं यद् अपि निवृत्तगुणः अर्मिचक्रम्
आत्मप्रसादः उत यत्र गुणेषु असङ्गः
आत्मप्रसाद उत यत्र गुणेषु असङ्गः
कैवल्यसम्मतपथः तु अथ भक्तियोगः
कैवल्यसम्मतपथ तु अथ भक्तियोगः
कः निवृत्तः हरिकथासु रतिं न कुर्यात्।
कः निवृत्तः हरिकथासु रतिं न कुर्यात्।
शौनकः उवाच
शौनकः उवाच
इति अभिव्यवृत्तं राजा
इति अभिव्यावृतं राजा
निशम्य भरतऋषभः
निशम्य भरतऋषभः
किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः
किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः
वैयासकिं ऋषिं कविं
वैयासकीं ऋषिं कविम्
ज्ञानं यत् अप्रतिनिवृत्तगुण उर्मिचक्रम् आत्मप्रसादः उत यत्र गुणेषु असङ्गः कैवल्यसम्मतपथ तु अथ भक्तियोगः कः निवृत्तरिकथा सुरतिं न कुर्यात्। शौनकः उवाच इति अभिव्यावृत्तं राजा निशम्य भरतऋषभः किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः वैयासकिं ऋषिं कविम्।
ज्ञानं
ट्रांसलेशन
यत्
एंड
अप्रतिनिवृत्तगुणः गुणः अर्मिचक्रम् आत्मप्रसाद उत यत्र गुणेषु असङ्गः कैवल्यसम्मतपथ तु अथ भक्तियोगः कः निर्वृत्तः हरिकथासु रतिं न कुर्यात्। शौनक उवाच इति अभिव्याहृतं राजा निशम्य भरतऋषभः किम् अन्यत् पृष्टवान् भूयः वैयासकीं ऋषिं कविम्।
ट्रांसलेशन एंड परपट बाय द श्रीला प्रभुपाद जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment and being transcendental. It is approved by authorities who could fail to be attracted. Śaunaka said, the son of Vyāsadeva, Śrīla Śukadeva Gosvāmī, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in poetic manner. What did Mahārāja Parīkṣit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? Purport. According to Bhagavad Gita 10.9, the characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. The complete functional activities of a pure devotee are always engaged in the service of the Lord, and thus the pure devotees exchange feelings of ecstasy between themselves and relish transcendental bliss. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice, sadhana avastha. If properly undertaken under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master and in the mature stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates in realization of the particular relationship with the Lord by which a living entity is originally constituted up to the relationship of conjugal love with the Lord, which is estimated to be the highest transcendental bliss. Thus, Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is called Kaivalya. Śrīla Gosvāmī quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayano Deva Varanam Aparam Aste Kaivalya Sagyanitam Nita Sagyanita Samgya Nita in this connection and establishes that Narayan, the personality of Godhead, is known as Kaivalya, and the means which enables one to approach the Lord is called the Kaivalya Pantha, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kaivalya Pantha means begins from Shravan, or hearing those topics that relate to the personality of Godhead, and the natural consequence of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment from all mundane topics, for which a devotee has no taste at all. For a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive, and in the mature state, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body. And what to speak of bodily relatives? In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of the material modes. There are different modes of material nature, and all mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested or in which he takes part become unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is described here as Pati Nirvrutta Gunarmi, and it is possible by ātma-prasāda, or complete self satisfaction without any material connection. The first class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotional service, but despite his loftiness for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotional service, even mundane interest, just to give the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Srila Rupa Goswami has described this action of a pure devotee as nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. Even mundane activities dovetail with service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental or approved Kaivalya affairs. A pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all godly qualities, and of the prominent features of those qualities are as follows. He is kind, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, mild, clean, non-possessive, a well-wisher, to all satisfied, surrender to Krishna without hankering, simple, fixed, self-control, and balanced, eater, sane, mannerly, prideless, grave, sympathetic, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Out of these 26 prominent features of a devotee, as described by Krishnadas Kaviraj in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, the qualification of being poetic is specially mentioned here in relation to Shukadeva Goswami. The presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. He was a self-realized learned sage. In other words, he was a poet amongst the sages. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेव श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्विताञ्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Today we continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2nd, Chapter 3rd, Pure Devotional Service, and we try to understand Shloka number 12 and 13. In Shloka number 12, they describe about the transcendental knowledge uh, in relation to Supreme Lord. And why this knowledge is important is what they it give us. It gives self satisfaction due to its being free from material attachment, because it is free from material attachment. So he give us the self satisfaction. And who could fail to be attracted, and who is not attracted to this transcendental love of Supreme Lord. And in Shloka 13, Shukadeva Gosvāmī told, Śaunaka Rishi told to Sutta Goswami that Shukadeva Goswami is a highly learned sage, and he told in a poetic uh, language manner. And why Parikshit Maharaj again want and require to hear all this again. And here in this shloka they describing about the 26 qualities of the devotees. Prabhuji will tell us in nicely. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyecha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, as rightly mentioned by Mataji out here, what we are seeing is a discussion on transcendental knowledge, and then about what further information was sought by Parikshit Maharaj. Now, regarding transcendental knowledge, if you go through the translation and the purport, qualifications or say qualities of the transcendental knowledge are being described. First is, what is transcendental knowledge? Transcendental is a knowledge which is in relation with Krishna. That is the very first quality. Second quality is, if we get this knowledge, then there is complete suspension of the interactions of the material modes of nature. Third is, this knowledge is self-satisfying because it is free from material attachments. So, freedom from material attachments is the fourth quality, and fifth is, it is approved by the authorities. So, the acharyas explained to us that these five qualities are there in transcendental knowledge, and because it has these five qualities which actually enable us to fulfill the mission of our life, it becomes so attractive that no one can go away from it the moment he gets even a tinge of it. So, is there a proof? Yes. Look at the worldwide distribution score of the books written by Abhay Charnarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. People start with small book, they become attracted to that knowledge, and they keep on adding books, and then Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and then Bhagavatam, and then over a period of time, even Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the moment we get even a small information, it starts creating difference in our life. So this is the nature of transcendental knowledge. And the most important of that being freedom from material entanglement. Because whatever sorrow we have, whatever depression we face, whatever anxiety we have, it's all because of these waves and whirlpools of the three modes of material nature. And it gives us that freedom from it. And it gives us ātma-prasāda, self-satisfaction. Now that becomes a very blissful state where there are no effects of any external factors. And this knowledge is practical. It is experienced by pure devotees even when they start at the stage of sadhana-bhakti. And that is why this is very, very important aspect. And that is why it is one of the important for uh, paraphernalia on the path of bhakti yoga. Now, this bhakti yoga path is also known as Kaivalya Pantha. Because bhakti yoga is the only means of Krishna realization. So it is called as Kaivalya, the path of pure devotion. So where does it start? It starts from, because the moment we say there is a path, it means there is some starting point and there is some end point. So what is the starting point of Kaivalya Pantha? The starting point of Kaivalya path is Shravanam, hearing Harikatha, which leads to transcendental knowledge and detachment from mundane affairs. And the ultimate destination is Narayan, because Narayan is Kaivalya. Eko Narayana Devaha. So Jiva Goswami is quoting that Vedic reference, which Srila Prabhupada ji has also said. So that is why we all love to be on this path. Eko Narayana Deva Para Avaranam Param Aste Kaivalya Sannitaha. And what are the characteristics of a devotee on this path? He becomes disinterested in social, political, bodily attachments, and even Android and what are the other iOS mobile phones. Little worried, right? But then this is a fact. What are the other qualities of this path? The devotees who come on this path, they do not get agitated by modes of material nature, and that is why it is mentioned as pratinivritta gunohami, and they experience bliss even when externally austerities are being done. And this leads to harmonious integration of the world in Krishna's service. A Uttama Bhaktaha, a first class devotee, he may engage even mundane things in devotional service, preaching, administration. Look at Srila Prabhupada, who thought that a mic can lead to such a big congregational change. Look at the recorder. Look at the dictaphone. He did so much of literature work. Dictaphone was such a simple thing, mundane, but then it changed. Look at what Beatles did. Now, Beatles, as you may be aware, they're one of the biggest rock bands in those days. But when they came in contact with Prabhupada ji, they changed the tune that we like, Hare Krishna, and it created magic. So Srila Goswami ji calls this Yukta Vairagya. Detachment by connecting everything to Krishna. So even mundane activities, if you are able to dovetail them with Lord service, they are counted as Kaivalya, approved transcendental affairs. Take us today's example. Zoom. Now, when this software was prepared, no coder would have thought that this will become the biggest platform for spiritual teachings. But this is a fact today. And that is why in Bhakti Yoga, everything can become related to Krishna. So when we compare it with the other yoga paths, we immediately come to the conclusion that this is the best. Like we nowadays hear a lot about this mechanical yoga systems. June 21st, we celebrated the International Yoga Day. So Patanjali Yoga. Now, even those people can attain transcendental bliss, but only later stages. Asambradnyata samadhi. But in Krishna consciousness, this bliss becomes right from the beginning, sadhana stage. So, what is better? Definitely this. And this is not something which anyone is saying. This is confirmed by Sri Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 10.9, wherein Krishna directly tells this that yes, it's a fact. Machchitta madgat prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. And just see what they get. They derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Or even Vedanta Sutra, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. We saw in the first canto, first chapter, 12th sloka, Anandamaya Abhyasat. The soul is always blissful by nature. Even the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they talk of Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtha va Chiti Shakti iti. So liberation is self-situated awareness through spiritual potency. Those who do not believe in Krishna, they reject the Chitta Shakti due to fear of duality. But Bhagavatam, even Patanjali, they confirm transcendental pleasures as real and essential. So Krishna consciousness is the basis. See, Monism aims at negation, nirvana, but bhakti leads to positive spiritual engagement. So Rupena Vyavastitihi. It acknowledges individuality, reciprocal love with Krishna, which is essential for experiencing bliss. We have the example of Haridas Thakur. He was beaten in 21 marketplaces, yet he did not retaliate. He's teaching tolerance, non-violence as real responses in devotional life. Because if, say, a Sankirtan party is there and it starts fighting back, would it look good? So, devotees should always consider themselves as representatives of Krishna, as someone who ought to be followed. So, the real yoga in Kali Yuga is Krishna consciousness. Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga are impractical currently. Bhakti Yoga, universal, blissful, accessible. Even with bodily needs of eating, sleeping, a devotee remains detached and focused on service. The yogis, they rejoice in the self through transcendental senses and remain unshaken in difficulty, which Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. So, what are the qualities of such a pure devotee? There are 26 qualities which come in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Few of them are narrated by Srila Prabhupada here, like being kind, peaceful, truthful, faultless, mild, poetic, grave, surrendered. Now, these all came into discussion because Shaunak Muni describes Shukdev ji as a kavi among sages. Because his poetic rendering of Bhagavatam is actually a divine literature. And he wanted to highlight that spiritual understanding comes through Guru only. The whole spiritual life, actually, it begins with inquiry and submission. If there is no inquiry, there is no submission, then there cannot be spiritual life. That is why Krishna tells to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter 34th shloka, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadyakshanti te jnanam jnaninah tattvadarshinaha. Blind following, irrelevant questions are actually condemned. We must accept a bona fide guru in disciplic succession and serve with humility. Genuine desire evokes the blessings of a spiritual master. A spiritual master has an important role to play because only a guru, whether it is Shiksha or Diksha, only he can teach how to dovetail all activities for Krishna's service. And this transforms the material energy into spiritual through Krishna Sambandha. And that is why Rupa Goswami ji says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatha Aram Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Engaging detachedly in sense objects when connected to Krishna is true renunciation. So these two shlokas, they have got a lot of practical instructions for us. First and foremost, don't make independent decisions in spiritual life. Consult seniors or guru. Second, you should never be afraid to ask questions. Just ensure they are relevant to devotional service. Thirdly, even apparent suffering should be seen as Krishna's mercy if you are surrendered. Fourthly, we have to strive to get to that transcendental knowledge and acquire as much as we can, as soon as we can, as much understanding as we can have, because only that will help us in concentrated, surrendered love and care towards following the instructions of our Guru. Those instructions are very clear that we have to chant, 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 chant. So if we chant, we become happy. If we read, we become happy. If we associate, we become happy. And the whole discussion, if you see, comes through that only. Because Shukadeva Goswami initially tells how it is important that you listen. Then he tells that whatever be the desires, every worship has to be for Krishna. Then he tells the importance of association. And now he is telling the importance of transcendental knowledge. So to summarize, what we saw today is that spiritual life thrives on devotional hearing, service, inquiry, and Guru's mercy. Kaivalya, or that is pure consciousness, is not negation of the world, but engagement with it in Krishna's service. And thirdly, simplicity, detachment, surrender. They bring transcendental joy and strength in all circumstances. For that, what we just need to do is remain in association and chant Hare Krishna.